Well, this is the Bureau video part 2. As you can see, we have the pieces cleaned down. Well, not cleaned, but we have the bits of dowels taken off them, and we have the pieces that we're definitely keeping. Next step in it is sanding. And the sanding we will do with a detail sander. And we'll start it out at 100 grit and go down to 120 grit. There wouldn't be much point in videoing that because there'll be a lot of noise during it. So I'll get on with this and come back to me in a minute. Most of these pieces are going to be painted, so we're not overly concerned about taking the lacquer and the old varnish and stuff like that off of them. So they're been given a light sand, and they're going to be also done another wash in sugar soap and another light sand, then ready for painting and wiped off. The pieces that we're going to replace are the front, the dropping front, the top, the lifting top, and these are the pieces of timber that we're going to use for those. This is some oak that we have there, some wide planks of oak. Now this one isn't actually, this plank isn't wide enough to be the front, so what we're going to actually do is when we cut this piece out, we're going to run a piece of timber that's that size from here right down to the bottom, and when you drop the lid it'll come down and meet the top part of this. You'll see it when it's more complete, it's easier to explain at that stage. The other pieces that we have to replace are the side parts. They're just not salvageable at all. And if you look at our timber store, this is all sanded timber here, and this is timber that's yet to be sanded. Piece on the sanding station ready to be done. But basically it's the sides panels are 12 inches wide, so basically we're either going to do a 3-4 inch pieces or 4 3-inch pieces. So as we start to get things ready, we'll come back to the video. Okay, we're getting ready to start making pieces again. This is the top part of the bureau that we're no longer going to be using. So basically we've put it over this piece of oak and we've stenciled around it, using it as its own template. As you can see, that's the shape that we have to cut out, and that will be cut with a jigsaw. Some cracks in these pieces of timber, and we've put the stencil marks inside the cracks, so that when we cut out a piece we'll have a nice solid piece without any cracks in it. First parts of it are cut. Hint when you're cutting a line is to always make sure you cut on the outside of it, the waste piece. So always cut the waste side of the line and almost leave part of the line as you're cutting. Okay, after some sawing, just put the original piece back on it to make sure that we're still on track. And this is the piece we're left with. Okay, it's not a perfect piece of timber, there's some holes in it and it's not perfect on top. But the thing about this is the look I'm going for is kind of a rustic look anyway, so this is after all a piece of oak. And rustic is the order of the day. Hard to believe when you look at this though, it was once part of a pallet now. Okay, this is the front piece, the piece that pulled down towards you. Don't have a piece big enough in stock to make it one complete piece. So we have cut this one, and basically we're going to have that much left over. But we have a plan. this top lid, we're going to put a piece of timber from here to here, one side to the other, so it'll actually come down and meet the front lid, and they will look one piece. Okay, we have the back piece at the very top panel cut, and that's basically the hinges that we're going to be using. So that's the lid complete. Just needs to be waxed or whatever we decide to do with it. Okay, after much faffing around with sizes of timber and stuff like that, we have the sides now cut. So we have them cut so they're identical. This will be a lovely rustic piece when it's done. And we get the paint order today as well. It's going to be two-tone with some wood wax, but I'm not going to reveal what colours that we're going to do just yet. Anyway, this is the piece that just goes above the doors, and a piece that we've cut to replace the old back piece. That old back piece is what hinges the front panel on, but we're changing the hinges out anyway. So, and this, when we took it apart, I didn't like it. It's in reasonable enough condition. I might use it for something else down the way, but no. So basically your writing shelf will pull down and will go in here. Go in here, that'll be your writing shelf, and the front door will be based on top of that with hinges. And that's the front drop down door there. That's the top lid and the piece that it gets hinged onto. We have doors, and that's the bottom shelf, top shelf, and the middle shelf is behind there, all sanded, ready to be painted. So basically what we're going to do next is we're going to get some timbers and put them along where the old shelves sit on. It was done by dowels in the way it was put together originally. Dowels are grand, but personally, you know, if I want to take something apart again, which this will have to be taken apart again when we're painting, it'll have to be assembled, test fitted, and then we'll have to unassemble it. So dowels with glue would be no good to me at this point. So we're going to cut some of these, put them across, and we'll have two sides. Okay, so we're ready to kind of start putting the sides together. I've cut this piece at 11 1/4 because this piece that's going there is 3/4 of an inch. So that needs to be, well, it's actually going to be there, but there's going to be a shelf in behind it. So basically, from measuring this one down from the top of the shelf right down to here, the bottom of where the shelf sits is 11 3/4. So we've measured from here down to here 11 3/4, and that's inches, and we have to do some pilot holes, 1 2 3, which I'll have to switch off the camera to do, but we're going to put some pilot holes in and drill some screws, and I'm going to do the same with the next shelf down. I'm going to do the same with the bottom shelf as well. So as soon as I have that done, I'll come back on camera. So far this is where we're at with the build. Obviously a couple more shelves to go on down the bottom, but we're just test fitting this shelf and everything is fitting fine there. And basically this piece is the lid. And this piece is the front. And all we have to do is put a piece of timber to bridge in between the two of them that will come down with the top piece, and put a backing on, put the shelves in, and then the doors come in underneath the decorative piece there. So it's beginning to look like it's getting there, so just bear with me. Okay, after putting some braces in for the shelves, this is where we're at now. And it has fit in fairly well, so it's a case of assembling what we can now and waiting for the paint to come tomorrow. So stay with us for that. Okay, first proper test build, and this is where we're at. Okay, and this will open like that, and this hasn't been connected to that yet, but this will then go down that way, so it will be held with the hanging brackets. And we're going to do some bits and pieces in here. We have some of the hanging brackets and stuff like that back on. They'll have to come back off to be painted. But what we also did is made up this little piece for it. So it's actually more bureau like. There was nothing like that in it except this own mirror, and it's delaminated. It just looks a bit crap, so we said we'd do something with wood. It's not quite screwed together yet, but how about that? I think that looks much nicer. I have to say, I'm really kind of happy with how this one came together. It'll look really well now when it's done in paint, and as I say, we won't reveal the colours until the Bureau video part 3, but you'll probably see it up on the page anyway beforehand. But back has to be fixed in properly yet, but there's no point in doing that until we have paint on it. But that's the basic end of the build. We have pieces fixed back on. Most of this now, a lot of it will be taken apart again just for the ease of paint. But I have to say, sometimes I like to think we do things better than new, and when this piece is finished, it's going to be better than new. Because all that was in it at one stage, there was no shelves or anything like that. There was just that piece of mirror, and we have this in it now. And under here we're going to put some battery operated LED lighting that has a remote control for it as well. So, and the remote control will be fixed over here somewhere. It sits in its own little pocket. So we have to see what way it turns out, so we can work a price on this unit now. When it doesn't sell, I'd be happy enough to keep it. So this is the end of the Bureau video part 2, and part 3 will be just again about preparation for paint and the painting techniques that we use, and it should be of definitely value to some people. And thanks for tuning in, and tomorrow we'll start on part 3.